It is one of the most vexing questions of the Revolutionary era, why so many of our great founders were simultaneously slaveholders.
How can people who spoke words like all men are created equal still hold hundreds of thousands of people in bondage?
All men are created equal. What does Thomas Jefferson really mean by it? Most people of this generation understood that this was contradictory.
So the truth is that among the major Southern founders, most of them are slaveholders. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, Patrick Henry, George Mason, on and on and on.
So there is a contradiction, this fundamental paradox between liberty and slavery.
America's founding fathers championed the causes of both liberty and slavery during their lifetimes. But to better understand this paradox, we first need to travel back in time to examine why so many people were willing to come to America.
Part of our tradition in this country that is really historically quite accurate is that people come to the colonies seeking greater freedom.
You hear the concept of God, gold, and glory. People that in England would never have been landowners were becoming landowners in the New World. And they had that first beginnings of the American dream.
Their general perspective on coming to the colonies vary based on where they were going. If you're talking Virginia, it's a company that founds Virginia, and they're looking for that gold that the Spanish had found in Latin America. And that gold eventually turns out to be tobacco. And if you're talking New England colonies, you're talking the Puritans, and they're coming because they're being religiously persecuted in England.
The Puritans left England beginning in 1630 in giant numbers. The Pilgrims had come before them 10 years earlier in a ship. They came in fleets. One Englishman talked about standing at the docks and seeing these fleets of ships leaving for the New World with the Puritans aboard and saying, it appears as if all of England is emptying itself.
John Winthrop was the first governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and in a famous address that he gave on the boat coming over from England to Massachusetts, he refers to the idea that the Massachusetts colony, and of course later on this was applied to America more generally, that the colony would be a city on a hill. He said, the eyes of all people are upon us. They're watching what we're doing. And so he was calling, I think, the colonists of Massachusetts at least to a great kind of moral accountability.
A 100 years before the founders, John Winthrop and Christianity were having a profound influence on early American culture. But if this is true, how did an institution like slavery ever get a foothold in America?
Enslavement as an institution is as old as civilization itself. You can find it in the Bible, you can find it in ancient African society, you can find it in Asian society, Greek, Roman society.
Once you got into the Americas, slavery is different than it is in any other part of the world. We call it chattel slavery. It is based off of race, skin color.